Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one, coming to you with a Monday market recap. Hope all of you had a good day of trading and a very beautiful weekend as well. And in today's markets, guys, well, the bulls continue putting on a show. The SPY nearing an all-time high. The QQQs not performing the best today, but the outperformance is in the relative S&P 500, the equal weighted S&P 500, in other words, the RSP. Take a look at this. This was up 1% on the day and smashing through the new all-time highs, which really dispels any concerns about this market being too concentrated into few names. This is a very broad bull market currently, guys, and the movements in the RSP largely demonstrate that fact. So in today's video, guys, we're going to do a few things together. Number one is, of course, going to go over the technical analysis portion in terms of our major stock market indexes, see how we're shaping up into this week's shortened trading week, holiday on Thursday for Thanksgiving, of course, and on the Friday session, it is a half day. The market's closing at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so should be a fairly light week in terms of volume, and I'm not expecting the markets to smash any key levels this week just because of usually normal low volume in the holiday weeks. So we'll go over the technical analysis first in terms of our major indexes, see where they stand. Thereafter, take a look at our major big tech names, see where they stand as well. Do a quick little recap of some of the swing trades that I've been presenting to you guys over the past couple of weeks. And lastly, take a look into my portfolio for the trades made today and what I keep in my portfolio remaining throughout the week. So it should be a fairly fun and interesting video, guys, and a shorter one than usual. So let's jump right into the action. So the SPY up about 0.34%, the Qs only up about 0.16%, but look how broad this market was. Other than semiconductors led down by NVIDIA, the market was very, very, very broad, guys. Every single sector pretty much, except for energy, really pushing to the upside. And you can see that manifesting in the the RSP, the equal weighted S&P, where it puts all of these names on an equal weight basis. As you can see from the heat map right here, a lot more names were green on the day than red. Big tech having a fairly good day, but some names were down, of course, NVIDIA and Tesla. And then thereafter, guys, financials doing very, very well today. Healthcare catching a bid finally. Consumer defensives fairly mixed, and the bottom half of the market responding well today to the very fast decline in yields that we have. Energy coming down significantly because we possibly might have some conflict resolution between Israel and Hamas. So that is the reason that oil is currently down. There's a few reasons oil is down, but number one has to be dwindling of the Middle Eastern tensions. And number two, of course, has to be just the weak seasonality of oil products right now. Fall is known to be the worst season for oil, and usually you get to see a bit of price appreciation come the end of January into February. So that's the heat map for the day, guys. One day relative, as you can see, everything in the green led to the upside by real estate really coming alive after the yields have declined today. And some of the reason for the yields declining today, we'll get into that in just a little bit, but this was Trump's nomination for the U.S. Treasury. An absolute Wall Street legend was nominated for the U.S. Treasury, head of the Treasury, essentially, right? And yields responded in a very bullish fashion to that. We'll take a look at that in just a few short minutes when we do the index rundown. So that being said, guys, let's start the index rundown, and we're going to start off with the S&P. So we'll go through these a little bit quickly because nothing has changed, guys. All the levels remain the same. The SPY trying to inch forward towards the all-time highs. Just keep in mind, if we do break them, we got the trend line coming up here, and that line is roughly going to be around 608. Yes, 608 on the SPY. They said it couldn't be done. They said it couldn't crack 6,000 for the year. And as a matter of fact, we actually cracked through 6,000 for a short period of time in the morning before pulling back a little bit. So that being said, guys, the SPY is looking good. Daily bulls control the uptrend right now. Any move lower is just going to be still looking for a daily higher low at this point. Anything above 584, higher low for possible further trend continuation into the area of resistance around 608. Looking good, guys. They control everything. They control the weekly timeframes, clear weekly uptrend right there. They also control the monthly timeframes. So when you see some declines like this in the context of an overall bull market where the market is discounting any negativity that gets thrown at it, usually it's a good opportunity to go shopping for some of your favorite names that may be on deep discounts. Moving into the QQQs right now, QQQs up only about 0.16%, and that is largely because of big tech was very, very, very mixed today, right? Other than Amazon, Apple, Google, Meta, which are a lot of names, of course, right? Tesla and especially NVIDIA, NVIDIA being the largest market cap company by sheer weight in the markets right now. Well, they keep going back and forth with Apple, but you guys get the point. When one of your biggest names in the market is down 4.18, it's tough for the Qs to put in a 1% day, right? So that being said, the Qs are still looking quite good. Daily uptrend is still underway, and at this point, even if we get rejected expected at the all-time highs right here, we could just put in somewhat of a tightening range over the next week while we have this low volume, low volatility leading into the Thanksgiving weekend, right? That being said, daily uptrend is very nice. Anything above 494, still just looking for a daily higher low. And if they cannot get this daily uptrend continuation done, my best guess is a little bit of a tightening range. I think we'd be hard pressed to lose these levels over the course of this week, especially due to the low volume profile. Keeping that in mind as well, guys, we really don't have that much in terms of macro data. If I throw on a few filters here, I apologize, the page reset on itself. So let me just get together your macro for the week. I covered this yesterday in the top 5 video, but everything is very, very light, right? Tomorrow we get the FOMC minutes, but we already know what the Jerome Powell said in the FOMC minutes, so we're not going to be expecting any major changes there. Thereafter, on the Wednesday session, we get inflation numbers, PCE and core PCE. Jerome Powell, once again, about 2 weeks ago, tilted his hand. He gave us the PCE numbers and said they were relatively in line. So that's kind of what we're expecting as well. Can we see a tiny little uptick in relation to the previous month, such as we saw in CPI and PPI just a few short weeks ago? Yeah, but we're not really expecting any major increases in inflation. GDP results as well will be coming up on the Wednesday session. But once again, this is just a revised number of the number we got last month, essentially, right? So they do revise it every single month through the quarter. So we're not expecting any crazy surprises thereafter. And the rest is probably not going to move the markets that much. So nothing much in terms of the macro front. And also, guys, not that much in terms of earnings. After tomorrow, earnings seasons, for the most part, is pretty much done. Tomorrow, we got some names that can move a lot, such as Abercrombie and Fitch. We have Dick's Sporting Goods as well for the retailers, Kohl's too, Best Buy, Macy's, all good indications of the health of the consumer. And after the close, we have a few big players there, especially the names of Dell, CrowdStrike, Workday, and Autodesk, HP as well for a nice little mention. So after that, guys, we're pretty much done. None of these companies, in my opinion, are going to move the market in a big fashion. They can affect their own index or their own industries. Like if CrowdStrike does bad, all the cybersecurity plays can come down a little bit, but I'm not expecting any major declines on the major indexes as a result of any of these earnings. So it should be fairly smooth sailing. Moving into financials, putting in a brand new all-time high, looking very good, guys. Daily uptrend right now. And in the event we choose to pull back because we're getting a little bit daily overbought right now, just keep an eye on the short-term time frames, right? The guide is the 1-hour uptrend. If you do not lose this in a significant fashion while also losing the 12 EMA, which is your guide EMA in the context of a short-term uptrend on the hourly, well, the daily is just going to continue. But when we do lose that, just keep in mind, what are we looking for here, guys? Looking for a daily higher low for further trend continuation. And these guys are going to be your area of support, talking roughly about $50 all the way down to about 49.5, matching up perfectly with the daily 12 EMA, looking good on the weekly as well. Even if we go into a daily downtrend, you guys know the drill. Who's in control here? The longer time frames. Financials, bulls on the weekly control everything right now. So any extended pullback looking for a higher low, anything above 46.10, just looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. But as of right now, the bulls control the daily. And until that stops, we are not expecting any major weekly consolidation just yet. Moving into healthcare right now, healthcare finally putting together more of the bounce continuation that I wanted to see. I'll remind you of the context, right? Big dump on healthcare after the Trump nomination of RFK as health secretary, of course. And as you can also see, guys, weekly downtrend has been quite pronounced as well, culminating in coming into our support area, 141 down to about 134, which is the prior highs of resistance range, and now should be acting as support. So the bulls played defense there, and now we have a nice little bounce. If you want to see the bulls get the daily uptrend back, first things first, you need to measure the size of the bounce. Have they created enough space to give them the probabilities on their side? Finally, now, yes, they have 50% bounce. Granted, it's not a 618 bounce, which would give them even better probabilities of doing something like this, but this is not too bad at a first glance, right? So we're going to be on the watch. If the bulls give up this move, can they set up the daily higher lows for the daily trend change, which leads us into furtherance of the weekly bounce, and the weekly bounce will be measured exactly the same because we started at the same level. Keep in mind, if we get the weekly bounce all the way up to this 147-ish or even the 718, right? If they can persist this daily uptrend into this guy right here on the weekly, that'll be almost weekly engulfing, creating a lot of space for the weekly trend reversal. So the bulls are not out of the woods yet, but they're making some good progress on some of those healthcare names. So congratulations to the bulls if you were able to buy these dips in some of the companies we were looking at, right? AbbVie, I was calling this one out down here, right? already up tremendously. UNH as well. We were calling this one out as a potential play on the channel just a few short weeks ago. At this point, this little touch right there, decent little buying opportunity, literally came right into the level that I have not moved, guys, since all the way back here, came right down into it, a nice little bounce. So there's a few opportunities in healthcare. Hopefully some of you were able to benefit from some of those. Moving into semiconductors right now, down about 0.39%. All of that has to do with NVIDIA, of course. And we're still kind of trapped between two levels, trapped between upside resistance right here, 250 up to 260, and down below the support, 236 down about 226. 10-point ranges. We are trapped here. So although the daily price action is not showing too much control, well, you know, if we do break to the downside, 237, that will be daily downtrend, of course, and will be just for a little bit further weekly consolidation. I can agree. You can argue that this is indeed a weekly downtrend right now, but truly what's confining this market right now is these two major levels. And until we get a break of one of these two major levels, I wouldn't say that, well, to the downside, I wouldn't say that the bulls are in jeopardy of losing ground or in jeopardy of doing the absolute flush, right? There's still a lot of big support below us. And to the upside, well, I can't really give the bulls the benefit of the doubt in terms of getting the weekly uptrend back until we really crack through the 260 level. So we need participation, not only participation from NVIDIA, but participation from the rest of the sector. And if I move myself over, you can see that today was actually very good for everybody except for NVIDIA. Now, this is a stark contrast in relation to a few weeks ago when the only names going up were AVGO, NVIDIA, and TSM. Now those names are either flat or red, and what's coming up? The entire rest of the index, right? So in that respect, you have a little bit of intra-sector rotation within the sector. And I've been calling this out, right? I've been calling that I do like playing NVIDIA, TSM, and AVGO, but we can have a little bit of a penchant for a little bit of a recovery rally in the rest of every other semiconductor name that has been left behind. And there are many that have been completely left behind as of recently, guys. Micron has been completely left behind. AMD has been completely left behind, arguably, right? I'm not going to go through the full list right here, but you guys can go through tons of them. Just a few that come to mind. LRCX has been left tremendously behind. ASML, super solid company. They have an outright monopoly, right, on what they do. They've been left super behind. So if we can continue to see a little bit of rotation towards the unfavored semi names, that should be pretty good for the SMH as a whole and give NVIDIA and AVGO and TSM a well-deserved breather because they've been carrying the whole index on their backs for literally the past 3 months almost. Moving into the Russell right now. So the Russell continues to be a very, very good trade. As a whole, guys, daily uptrend is now more than confirmed, right? They got the new leg in. The Russell was performing very well in the early morning and then kind of just hesitated and hovered around here for a grand majority of the day. But all in all, the daily bulls are looking very, very strong, guys. New all-time highs over the course of the day today. So in the event we have to pull back a little bit, just looking once again for a daily higher low, anything above 226, daily higher low for possible further trend continuation on the weekly as well. I was kind of expecting this after last week's very bullish close. I was expecting the bulls to kind of get a little bit of momentum continuation over the course of this week. And so far, so good. It is happening. Of course, we've left a few gaps behind us on the way. So if the bulls come back down, fill this gap before possibly rallying a little bit more, that would make perfect sense. So the Russell, I still do believe, is a decent opportunity, guys, leading into 2025. This has been one sector that has been lagging behind. Keep in mind, if you think the Russell has ran a lot, well, yes, it has ran a lot from the bottom, but we are literally only above the all-time highs of 2021 by 485. As a matter of fact, if you take this massive doji right here, technically speaking, we're not even at the all-time highs that we had on the Russell. So I think there should be a lot more. And beware, guys, we only have 5 remaining days. Well, actually, if you take away Thanksgiving, we only have literally 2.5 trading days to close this monthly candle. And if this monthly candle closes like this, I am pretty confident in saying that there is some very high probabilities of continuation into the month of December. And that's what I'm waiting for myself personally, because you guys know I already have exposure to this, right? You guys know that I have the Russell Leap right here. And we're actually up quite nicely right now, 25.7%. We bought the dip over here. We didn't get the absolute bottom, of course, but the logic was sound. We were waiting for a weekly retest of the support range, breakout, retest, and run, and that is exactly what's happening right now. Moving on to the Dow Jones. Dow Jones also looks exactly like the Russell, right? Looking very strong on the Dow Jones. Breakout, retest, and run. classic trade, guys. Daily continuation is well in motion right now. So in the event this move tops out, what are we looking for? Daily higher low for further trend continuation. Anything above 43,000, a lot of space created, will be looking for that daily higher low. So just keep that in mind. Who's also in control of the weekly, guys, should be clear as day. Beautiful weekly uptrend by the bulls. So even if we lose the daily uptrend into weekly consolidation, they have tons of space, guys. Anything above the same, 42,006 roughly, the bottom of that candle, just for a weekly higher low for further trend continuation. So the bulls in control of all the major timeframes right now, looking quite good. I'm not going to go through the minor sectors. We did that last Friday. I do a recap of all the minor sectors on the Friday session, but all in all, those are performing quite nicely as well, especially real estate, which is really coming alive. And one of my favorite real estate plays that I was telling you guys about on the channel just a few short weeks ago when, we were getting battered by the 10 and 20 years rallying. I was saying Vici, watch out for Vici, guys. What are they doing? They're doing the good old breakout, retest of the level and run. I don't know how many times I'm going to show this trade on the channel, right? It's one of my favorite trades for a reason, because I call it the breakout retest because it's easy to conceptualize. But what it is essentially, it is a trend continuation pattern when you already have the trend in your control. Everybody likes to say the trend is your friend, but nobody actually puts pen to paper as to what that actually means. What you're looking for is a break of a key level with bullish momentum into the continuation of an already established monthly uptrend. And I always use the monthly and weekly time frames because those are the ones that usually get the best follow through. Sure, you can replicate this on the 15-minute, 5-minute. The pattern is perfectly fine. But if you want those juicy gains over days and weeks worth of time of continuation, usually I always look for them on the monthly and weekly time frames. Now, that being said, let's move into a little bit of our yields. So talking about yields here today, guys, why did yields finally come down a lot? We broke a big level here, guys, right? This 12 EMA, the bulls had been riding for all intents and purposes since the Jerome Powell meeting at the end of September when we got that first rate cut. And it's been nothing but upside since then. And I've been telling you guys, there's nothing wrong with starting a position down here on TLT, but you might need to wait a little bit longer than expected if you really want to see the big gains, right? Now, this would look like NVIDIA. It may actually be something more like this, something more slow, something more streamlined. I was saying it's a good idea to be building a position here, but you may want to be a little bit more patient with your time horizons, especially if you're going for call options or something like that, right? Well, now we get the big drop through the 12 EMA, daily downtrend is in motion, and now we are starting to recapture the weekly level as well. The bulls losing the weekly uptrend on your 20-year yields, which means as a consequent byproduct, they have now lost also the weekly downtrend on the TLT trade. So are we possibly seeing weekly engulfing into back to weekly uptrend? Well, that is possibly likely. What we're going to need to be a little bit patient with this one because there's a ton of moving parts. Now, the reason for this, guys, is because of the nomination of Scott Bessent to lead the U.S. Treasury Department. Now, a few key factors here about Scott Bessent. He is, for all intents and purposes, right, he is an absolute legend on Wall Street. If you don't follow these guys or haven't followed them for the last 10, 15 years like I have, I mean, he is a very, very big proponent of putting the United States first. And the article goes into this as well, but he's been very, very adamant on putting the U.S. first and foremost. And also he's a big proponent of lower taxation and also does consent to the use of tariffs against foreign nations. However, he's a little bit more muted towards the tariffs, right? Trump put out as a 20% target. I do not think under Scott Bessent's advisory role, I do not think that Scott is going to advise for the 20% tariffs either. I think if anything, you may just get in line with what the tariffs have been, maybe a slight increase, but probably not 20%. And that is kind of led to a reduction in the fears over inflation, because a lot of the move, well, not a lot of the move, but a good majority of the move on the TLTs and the yields has been worries about a resurgence of inflation, right? You've seen that with the sheer recovery in the price of gold as of recently. So now you can see what happened to gold today. Gold, as a matter of fact, dropping 3.34% off of that news, and the bonds having their best day, arguably, in weeks and weeks and weeks. So hopefully this is one to get us back above a level. Could be interesting, but as I said, guys, it's going to be a slow-moving trade. This one will probably come alive into the early stages of 2025, rather than just putting in a massive December rally, right? That's possible, but probable. most not likely, probably in the early stages of 2025, I could see the TLT really starting to recapture the mid to high 90 levels without too much of an issue moving forward. So that was the news about that. You guys can read a little bit more about this on your own, but essentially it's kind of calming the fears of inflation as a whole. That being said, right? So now moving into the next portion of the video, we have to touch upon Bitcoin, because what's Bitcoin doing, guys? Bitcoin is down 4.32%. Is it over? Is that the top of Bitcoin? Probably not, guys. I mean, come on, right? We've had literally only upside in the last 3 weeks since the election. So this was bound to happen. And we were talking about this last Friday as well, right? Any move lower is just looking for a daily higher low, looking for anything pretty much at this point above 88,800, looking for the higher low for possible further trend continuation. This monthly candle closes literally on the Saturday session for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is open on the weekends, of course. And I do believe if we can protect, well, even if we come down to like 90, 88, the monthly candle is still going to look extremely, extremely strong. And even if this leads into a little bit of daily downtrend, into a little bit of weekly consolidation, not the worst case scenario for Bitcoin, right? If anything, we will get to see whether or not the altcoin rotation actually comes alive. You can see here on the list, very mixed. Bitcoin is down today, but Ethereum is poking up. A few names in the altcoins are up, but not everything, right? So we cannot say that it's a broad-based rotation from Bitcoin to alts, but this is somewhat contrary to the few red days that I've seen over the past couple of weeks of time where Bitcoin was red and this entire list was red. Now we can start to see a little bit of decoupling, a tiny little bit of decoupling. Keep an eye on the Bitcoin dominance chart, because this one has just recently set up for the daily downtrend. Look, losing something that we have not lost, guys, since the month of July. They've lost all the short-term moving averages. Could this be the start of the weakening of Bitcoin in relation to everything else? That's not saying that Bitcoin's going to go down and everything else is going to go up. It's just that Bitcoin can go up, but all of these may go up a lot faster, and that would still make this chart go down. So just something to think about, right? I'm not calling for it right now, but just something that I've noticed so far. So that's everything for Bitcoin and altcoins. I bunch all of these up in an identical fashion, right? Ethereum is the exact same concept, right? We know we have the daily uptrend right now. Any pullback looking for a daily higher low. At this point, anything above 3,000 looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. But Ethereum is looking quite strong, even on the weekly. Gorgeous weekly trend expansion too. We got the MACD cross, so bullish momentum is still here. So if we get a big pullback, still bullish momentum moving forward as well. And look at this monthly candle on Ethereum as well, guys, right? If we close this monthly candle at the end of November in 5 days, it is going to look very solid for a little bit of continuation into the month of December. Probably not expecting as big of a candle as this. It could surprise you though, but we could just get some follow through beyond the 4,000 or at the $4,000 mark within the next 5-6 weeks worth of time. So keep a close eye on that. Now let's move into our big tech names, shall we? So moving into big tech. So take a look at Apple. We're going to go through these quickly as well, because not much has changed. However, Apple did do something crucial today, which is they actually did it, guys. We actually did it. We broke through the range here, the 230 down to about 224 range. Daily uptrend is in motion right now. Resistance stays put at about the 236 all-time highs. So Apple really not looking too bad. That being said as well, guys, we're also looking for a possibility of a weekly trend expansion. We have been sideways here for about 3 months worth of time. If they can get this weekly crack above 236, that will be the reestablishment of a gorgeous weekly uptrend and could unlock one of my favorite trades once again, guys, which is the breakout, retest, and run. A bit tough for me here to play the breakout on Apple. I think that Apple will be a byproduct of if the whole market just keeps going up, Apple will get dragged along with it, because Apple definitely doesn't have any major catalysts of its own as of recently in terms of either new product releases, other than the new Mac M4 Mini, their new desktop computer that they made, the little box that's very, very tiny. That one seems to be extremely appreciated. And I've seen a lot of content from YouTubers talking about this, not finance YouTubers. I'm talking about computer YouTubers, people who review electronic products and whatnot. A lot of bullishness around this Apple M4 Mini, Mac Mini release, especially due to the price. So that could be one decent revenue driver for Apple over the course of the next quarter. That's been the one standout item from them, I think, in the last 2-3 weeks, as I've been kind of looking at the Black Friday sales numbers and the Black Friday interest around Apple products. Moving on to AMD right now. So Apple, I mean, no trade for me right now, but if we do break out and retest eventually, that would be a trade that I would not mind taking. And if we break down to the downside, you know the drill, guys. Looking for some short puts, 219 down to 215. Moving on to AMD right now. So AMD coming alive a little bit, setting up for the daily uptrend. So, it wasn't looking very good, especially when you get only a very weak bounce, such as a 38.2 bounce. You open up the bears for a retest of the lows, which they came very close to doing. But now the bulls have set up the daily uptrend. So now that they have the daily uptrend in motion, we look one time frame higher. Can they finally start to put together a weekly rally? Just keep in mind though, guys, a lot of resistance above. Not only do you have to deal with the short-term weekly moving averages, the 12, the 26, and the 50, but just above them comes the absolute monster area, right? That's been challenging for this stock so many times over the course of this year so far, which is of course 155 to 160. Not a bad area to bid on AMD, whether you're playing short puts. I've been calling for this, right? Short puts below here, not a bad idea. 133 down to 125. Fairly good for valuation and fairly good for a swing trade as well. If you are looking for the possible expansion though now you at least have a daily uptrend and you have a level to be basing your trades off of. That's why I always wait for confirmation, because now we can enter the trade right here on the break of the daily uptrend, going for weekly continuation to the upside, right? But we have a defined level. We can actually put the stop loss below here, because now we are confirmed that the bulls are willing to take control. You have the MACD cross all the way down there. So now we have more confirmation signals. So although we're not clipping the bottom and we have to buy a little bit higher, at least we are paying for confirmation. So that's how I see that trade. Moving on to Amazon right now. So Amazon also up 2.2% today, looking quite good, all things considered on Amazon, if I do say so myself. I erased this line right here, but there should be a clear line, which is the 200 psychological. We've now broken back above that. It was a daily downtrend into last Friday. Now we will see, can the bulls fully engulf up to the highs of 205? If they do that, daily downtrend is finished. Still need to reestablish the daily uptrend pattern though, but you would undo the daily downtrend, which would mean as soon as the bears lose the daily downtrend, whether or not, we have set up the daily trend change yet or not, if they lose it, your weekly consolidation leg is finished, your weekly higher lows are set, and you're just looking for a little bit more of weekly trend expansion. We were looking for this, guys. I was saying that Amazon on this dip was a great time to be writing some short puts in the lower 190s in the event we came back down there. I thought that that would be maximum drawdown. So we'll see how Amazon ends the week. I would like to see them push a little bit more throughout the week into this monthly candle just to close it more bullish than not. Because as of right now, it's still a very large doji, right? You can call it what you want, shooting star, doji, candle, anything you want, right? But I would like to see Amazon push a little bit more up until 208 and close this candle kind of at the midpoint. It would still look like a fairly bullish candle close, because right now, admittedly, just the candle formation, right? The monthly uptrend looks amazing. The weekly uptrend looks amazing as well, but just this little thing here is kind of bothering me. So I would like to see Amazon close maybe, within the gap area up here, 208, 209. We'll see what this week brings. Looking very good though for further continuation by the bulls into this weekly uptrend. Moving on to Google right now. So Google also having a good day today, 1.72%. And I was saying this as well. Last week was a great opportunity to be bidding Google down here for some short put opportunities, right? 165 down to 160 all day. Love Google, great area of support. Didn't get an entry today, but I've been in pretty much since last week. And those contracts are doing fairly well, if I do say so myself. That being said, daily downtrend is still in motion. We are still looking for a lower high into lower low. We need to measure the size of the bounce. As of right now, the bounce is not so good, and we do have overhead resistance, right? All of the moving averages are there on the daily, and also this 176 down to 170 is a contested area. It has been a contested area, from the bears for a very long time now, a few months. So we'll see, can the bulls get it done? And if they get rejected in here, set up for the daily trend change, that's what I'm looking out for. Also on the weekly, it's not looking too bad. Still in control of this weekly uptrend, but you'd like to see them stop the damage right here and put in a little bit leg of continuation to the upside. That being said, in the event that we don't and revisit these lower areas, same trade applies, guys. Great location for some short puts or maybe even some call debit spreads. If you think that Google is as undervalued as I do, could be a decent opportunity to bid down there. Moving on to Meta. Meta 1.07% to the upside, but the daily trend is somewhat unclear. We know that it's in the context of a daily downtrend. The bulls are trying to go for the daily trend change, but still no close above the high of Thursday, which is 569.76. You get a close above that, Daily uptrend is back in motion. You get the daily uptrend back. You know that weekly consolidation is largely finished, and we look to possibly approach the highs once again. We know it's been a very nice weekly downtrend for the bears. And if we were to roll this over on Meta and come down here, guys, into my sweet spot, 540 down to 530, I will be throwing a decently sized contract at Meta, to say the least. And that will just be a classic breakout retest on what time frame, guys? The one that matters the most, arguably, monthly breakout retest of the prior all-time highs, which were resistance for 4, 5, 6 months, and now retest and possibly run. So that's why I'm eyeing this key area right down here. We'll see if we can get it off or not. But Meta, not looking bad at all, if you ask me, especially when you look at the higher time frames, you know? Moving into Microsoft right now. So Microsoft getting a little bit of lift in the end of the day, but Microsoft, similar to Meta, the trend right now is very unclear, especially on the daily time frame. One thing is for sure, as I can say, guys, this looks like SMH, right? We are trapped between two levels, and we have been trapped between these two levels for more of 2024 than not, right? Have we come above it for a few short weeks? Yes. But for a large part of the year, we've been trapped between these two levels. And if you tell me that this looks like Head and Shoulders, I know, guys, trust me, I know, right? So we'll get into that in a little bit, but we've been trapped between two levels, 425 up to about 435 to the upside resistance, and to the downside 405 down to 390. So very simply, I'm gonna play these very simply. If we start retesting lower, guys, you guys know me, I'll be writing some short puts, 405 down to 390, decent area for some short puts. Put credit spreads at the lower end as well, could be fine. And even loading up, guys, on some call debit spreads down here. I have some leap options that I'm looking to add more to. I bought them back here. We bought a lot of call debit spreads back here as well. Added some over here too. But if you don't have any, still a decent opportunity to go shopping, not financial advice. Just if you were looking for some sort of upside play on Microsoft, right? And you don't have the capital maybe for some leaps, well, the call debit spreads also offer a decent risk to reward opportunity to benefit from some share appreciation without paying too much out of pocket. So Microsoft still range bound, guys, and I've addressed this Head and Shoulders many times on the channel, guys. Trust me, I have a pair of eyes too. I recognize that it's a big Head and Shoulders. However, we have to keep in mind, right? If the rest of the markets keep going up, if SPY and QQQ keep grinding higher, do you guys really think that Microsoft is just not going to follow and somehow fulfill the prophecy of the Head and Shoulders and drop 15, 20% from here? Although they've been improving fundamentals, although SPY and QQQ are going up? Probably not, right? So the context matters a lot. The Head and Shoulders has a high probability just as a pattern, but the context surrounding the pattern is equally as important. So just keep that in mind. Moving on to Netflix right now, 3.59% to the downside. I mean, this was inevitable, right? Netflix has been putting out a tremendous rally for the past couple of weeks since the election. Daily uptrend is clear as day, and we were always expecting a pullback, guys, looking for the daily higher low. I was telling you, Netflix cannot stay overbought on the daily timeframes as much as stocks like Tesla and NVIDIA can. So we were expecting the pullback. Nice to see that it's finally here. No news at Netflix, just normal price action here, guys, to be anticipated. Looking for the higher low, anything above 807, looking for that higher low for further trend continuation. And in the event they turn this one into a engulfing move and set up the daily downtrend, well, then you guys know what to expect, right? Just when in doubt, zoom out. It's still in the context of a gorgeous weekly uptrend with tons of space, guys. Anything above 745, looking for a weekly higher low. So even if you're in for like a couple weeks of consolidation, I'm here to appease your fears. We are still in the context of a gorgeous bull market rally on Netflix right now. So no red flags on this stock at all, just normal price action. Now moving into NVIDIA. So NVIDIA down 4.2%. Any reason whatsoever? Not so much, right? Still a little bit of concerns over the earnings. Are they going to be able to ship out the Blackwell chips as fast as they anticipate? Are there some overheating issues for the Blackwell chips? All little pieces of information here and there, but let's be honest with each other, guys. The numbers were absolutely fantastic. The guidance was absolutely fantastic, and they have 85% of the entire market share for data centers for what they do right now. So no red flags for NVIDIA. If anything, this does represent a very decent buying opportunity, and I'll be going over some of the trades later on in the video that I chose to write today on NVIDIA myself. So daily downtrend right now, no close higher, so we cannot say that this was a higher high, right? So no close above, Now, equal close down. While we flush the daily higher lows, well, daily downtrend is underway by NVIDIA right now. Daily downtrend, ooh, big words. Not so much, guys. Still just looking for a weekly higher low for further trend continuation, right? You can argue that the higher low is right here, guys. But in all reality, right, it wasn't that big of a move to the downside, but I'll give it to you. If you want to argue that the weekly higher lows are here, and I've said so a little bit myself, you can argue that we're just in weekly consolidation at that point. Pay attention to the 132. But in all reality, I think that at worst, NVIDIA can end up doing something like they did back here, right? You guys remember this pattern down here? So same thing, right? Where we kind of lost. I mean, you can argue that this was the weekly higher low. They slightly broke down below it. Then they kind of held somewhat of a sideways range for a couple of weeks worth of time. So I do think that NVIDIA can do something similar right here at the all-time highs. Not expecting the massive flush, but can they come back down and test this area right here, 130 to 125, and at absolute worst, come down and test the 120 to 115? Well, that is a likely scenario, and we would still just be looking for a monthly higher low for further trend continuation, which is why I love both of these levels, and I will be playing them both. You know, we'll see how aggressively I choose to do it, but for now, I'm kind of sitting firm around the lower 130s, but if we break below, I wouldn't be opposed to adding more contracts at a lower strike and just reducing the cost basis, because I think that NVIDIA, you know, even if they do consolidate here for maybe another couple weeks or another month or something like that, I think 2025, guys, is still going to be a year where NVIDIA continues just doing what it does best, just grinding higher and just defeating everybody's expectations of the fact that people think that it's topped out right now. I don't think it's topped out. I think there's a lot more, maybe not, you know, a 10x in this stock, right? But can the stock go up maybe, you know, a good 50, 60% through 2025 and early 2026 as they continue to ramp production? Absolutely, guys. I would not be surprised. I think there is still some decent upside on NVIDIA, so I will continue to bid accordingly. Now, Tesla moving down, of course, 3.96%. There was some rumors, well, not really rumors, but they're putting in a motion in California to essentially cancel the EV credits for Tesla specifically. So we'll see how that goes. But essentially, you know, any news right now for Tesla is going to be a catalyst to kind of pull this stock down because it's been in a heck of a rally. So all in all, guys, the daily uptrend is still intact right now, looking for the continuation pattern of the daily higher lows into higher highs. And now we got a little bit of consolidation, right? Never really giving back. You can see never really giving back the lows. So I can't say that this is a daily higher low, guys. Not at all, right? We never really lost the hourly time frame at all. It was just somewhat of a tightening range. So in my opinion, this is all still one move. We're still just looking for a daily higher low, anything above 310 for the daily higher low for possible further trend continuation. And then where would that trend continuation bring us into? Even if we lose the daily uptrend, guys, even if we do something like this, daily downtrend into support area, 310 out of 300, well, we would just be looking for a weekly higher low for further trend continuation. So I'll be looking, if we come down here in the next few weeks, guys, I'm going to bid 310 out of 310 out of 300. If we come down here hard, there will be some juicy short put opportunities below there around the 280, 275 location. And I will be looking to bid those with a little bit of size. So that's the trade that I'm looking for right now, a retest of this area. But all in all, Tesla is not looking too bad. It's just we're not getting the immediate follow through to 400. 410, which is for all intents and purposes, the all-time highs, right? So it's not going to be an easy thing to break those. If anything, we may have to two-step the process for Tesla, but everything looking good. And now lastly, Palantir up about 0.47%, not looking too bad at all, right? Decent movement right here on Palantir, setting up the higher lows and now going for the daily trend expansion. So the daily higher lows are right around here, guys. They're all in the same location, talking about $59. So that'll be the target to watch. If we do pull back a little bit more, looking for a higher low, anything above 59, higher low for possible further trend continuation. In the event we roll all of this over and go into daily downtrend, daily downtrend would be the first of its kind in a long time, guys, admittedly, since all the way back here in September. But if it happens, and eventually it will happen, I just don't know if they go up here and then do it or whether or not they do it from here, right? Nobody knows, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. The best you can do is have a guess and an estimate, right? But if that does happen, guys, of course, what's going to happen after a daily downtrend? You guys know it better than me by now, right? So we're going to be looking for a weekly higher low for possible further trend continuation. As of right now, not looking too bad at all. Weekly overbought conditions, everybody knows that. Daily overbought conditions, everybody knows that. The stock is expensive. Everybody knows that as well. But for now, price action and momentum are king. So just keep a special eye on the daily patterns of higher highs, higher lows and whatnot. And when we lose this and lose the daily 12 EMA, which has been our guide ever since this last leg started, right? Just keep an eye because that is when you will get weekly consolidation periods. And if we come back to the mid 50s or something like that, I will be bidding down here. So that's pretty much everything for our rundown in terms of the indexes right there. Now, I did cover a lot of these plays yesterday in the top 5 options plays, but all the ones that I was looking for, guys, kind of came alive today. BITX, a little bit of a sell down today, obviously because of Bitcoin. And we're looking really for possible retests of the prior levels, talking about 49.50. There was some good premium for writing short puts there, and I did take one myself. We'll get into these trades in a little bit of a second here, right? UPS also swing trade idea, guys. This one is moving nicely to the upside, breaking above on the weekly, looking quite good for some possible expansion. The risk is all the way down here at 129, and the reward is sitting up here at about 148. So right now it's kind of equidistant, but I would not mind taking some positions, even with some short puts, right? We're balancing right now, bouncing off rather, the previous resistance, which is now support, looking to move a little bit higher on UPS. I mean, we'll cover SoFi. There's no trade here, in my opinion. If you're long right now, it's pretty good for just a hold, right? But if you're trying to long from here, I'm not saying that it won't work, guys. It can work. It's just we have to measure things in terms of risk reward, right? So what's the reward right now for SoFi? Well, not much. The weekly RSI is massively overblown. The daily RSI is massively overblown as well. And as I was hinting at, right, if you weren't interested in SoFi here, why are you interested up here? Just because it's gone up all of this and you think that it's going to do this in perpetuity, right? But in all reality, it doesn't really work like that, right? What I would be more in tune waiting for is a retest down here for the lower level. So we need a big pullback on SoFi. If anything, come back down to the 14s and I'll be able to write something like the 13s or something like that. But buying up here, guys, as I said, although it can work, yes, it can. I'll be the first to admit that. It's just not a good habit to get into, right? I understand that the market is super hot right now and it's easy mode. You feel that whatever you buy just goes up and just keeps going up, right? But that has not always been the case. Just keep that in mind. So the habits that you build today as a trader are the habits that you will follow as you scale up your portfolio and scale up your portfolio. So if you are taking this trade along here, calls, it's not my account. I don't really care. Well, I do care because I want you guys to do well and I want you guys to build good trading habits, right? But just understand what you're doing. It's one thing if you buy up here without understanding the risks, right? And if you buy up here and then you're surprised that you get a 20% pullback from for no news, you know, that's one thing, right? But if you buy here fully aware of a possible 10, 15, 20% pullback with no news, just normal price action, it would look perfectly normal, right? If we pull back here and then expand, and then we look at this chart in July, and I say that this was a good buying opportunity, this move down will look normal, right? So just keep that in mind, guys, please, right? Okay. So those are some of the trades, you know, that we're looking out for. Obviously, MSTR, everybody's going to ask me about MSTR, and that's fine as well. MSTR, just use Bitcoin as a proxy. If you want to be buying Bitcoin dips, if you don't think that Bitcoin has topped for this cycle, well, most likely MSTR has not topped for this cycle as well. So one of the ways that a few of my members are playing this is with short put opportunities down a lot because you can get some good premium on these. But even if you want to go, I'm not going to be able to stop you guys. If you want to go for the call options, they are very, very expensive right now. But keep in mind the call debit spreads may be an even better bet. Call debit spreads with a lot of time, 6 months on the buy and 7 months on the sell contract. I was looking at some last week for possibly just buying something like at this point, you buy like the 415s or the 420s and you sell all the way up here, the 700s for 1 month later down the line. Take a look at those options when you're building your spreads. You will see that they're very attractive, guys, and makes the cost of entry to these options a lot cheaper. So those are just a few ideas on MSTR. You guys know that the trade ideas I've given you in the past have been performing pretty good. Coca-Cola looking nice. This is the pattern that we were looking for. Recapture of the daily uptrend. So it looks like they're putting that in motion right now, coming in nicely, creating this beautiful demand zone down here. Going to be tough for the bears to get through that. Looking for the continued expansion and a recapture of the weekly uptrend eventually, because we know this is just a monthly higher low for further trend continuation. A breakout and retest on the monthly for one of the most solid companies in the world. So I was telling you guys, if you want to bid, probably now's a decent time to bid Coca-Cola. So hopefully a few of you were able to make some money on that. A few other trade ideas, guys. Baba coming back down into a very decent location, guys. And yes, once again, looking for the eventual monthly trend change. Their earnings a few short weeks ago, last week on the Friday, as a matter of fact, was absolutely amazing. I did not cover them in the channel, guys. However, record profits for the company. I would not be surprised if this is coming into a slight bottoming area, and I will possibly be looking to pick up maybe some leap call options on BABA, because right now they are fairly cheap. They came back, tested the level that I wanted them to get back at, so could be looking quite good. Buy BABA, even Baidu. Those are my two favorite names for the China trade right now. Just an idea. The N-phase trade as well has been going very good. I'll look in my portfolio in just a few short minutes. The N-phase trade has been working wonders. We pretty much picked the bottoms in the last 2 weeks, and so far it's looking good for a little bit of trend continuation. And even if we stay at these lower levels, I will be continuously writing some premium down here. Another one that we talked about last week, in the top 5 options video yesterday, is SMCI. This one is potentially an asymmetric bet for some risk to reward, right? We know that now we do have a beautiful engulfing move and a lot of supporting data right now. Their earnings, we covered them on the channel. Their earnings were good. NVIDIA last week spoke about their partnership with SMCI on the earnings call. SMCI will be presenting at the NVIDIA keynote event in the month of January as well. And we know that Blackwell is going to be all about liquid cooling, and we covered this, guys, on the earnings call, right? So we covered the fact that they have 70 to 80% of the liquid cooling market share, and a lot of players that are currently buying the Blackwell chips, they are pivoting to the liquid cooling solutions. So this one could be good. We are now through a lot of the FUD, right? We got the NASDAQ extension, a lot of things in the past 2 weeks. We got good earnings, good guidance. We got the NASDAQ delisting news behind us. Now the NASDAQ is giving them an extension. They also have a new auditor that has agreed to audit their statements. So could this be the end, or could this be a favorable risk to reward trade? Yes, possibly. I'm still playing it with some short puts down in the lower ranges, just kind of trailing the price right now. Those are just a few of the trade ideas that we've had. The Berkshire trade idea that I gave you guys over the past couple of weeks as a whole, right? The Berkshire trade, I started talking about it back here. Yes, we had a little bit of a dump, but I've been bringing up this trade on a weekly basis. I was saying while Berkshire consolidates sideways, it's a good idea to build positions at the lows of consolidation. The lows of consolidation, because usually we get a big leg, consolidation, and then we get another nice leg. And now we have hit the take profits. I closed a few trades up here, and now we're all out of that trade. So congratulations to those of you that have made some money. We'll be covering many, many more. Those are just a few of the ones that come to mind. Elf Beauty is also another one, right? That we talked about on the channel last week, was saying that last week after the FUD, the short seller report, probably a good idea to be buying this one, because the short sellers, unfortunately for them, had no idea what they were talking about. And a lot of those reports are very decent buying opportunities. The good old breakout retest. Where are we retesting? Well, all of this 2-3 months prior's worth of resistance, of course, which is now support. The moving averages are support too, looking for the daily trend expansion, and most importantly, looking for the brand new weekly uptrend, the first one of its kind since all the way from back here. And look at this. This was the kicker. The MACD, which is the lagging indicator. The MACD cross will never let you get the absolute bottom. But when you couple that with a trend continuation shift, and the MACD leads you to believe that you can get more follow through to the upside. So ELF is looking good as well. So that's pretty much everything for the swing trade ideas that I've been presenting. Now, in terms of the positions, well, we're going to go through, oh, sorry, I didn't cover this one, guys. This is the dumpster dive portfolio, right? We are now up 9.32%. We are outperforming the SPY by 3%. We're crushing the SPY by 50% since the inception of this portfolio. So taking a look at exactly, this is year to date, by the way. This is like the full year, right? So I don't know why it's this blown up. I don't know why it got so wide. But if you take a look at the positions here, let's have a look, right? So everything in terms of the performance, you guys can see, I built this one about 2 months ago at this point when the markets were kind of down a lot. And I was saying, I was going shopping for all the companies that have been beaten down, getting shown no love for the past 2-3 years, mostly all value plays down 40, 50, 60, 70% to levels unseen since 2017, 2016, 2015. And I was trying to see if it was a good proposition to buy all those dumpster companies or companies that were in the dumpster to see if when they recovered, they would outperform the SPY. Well, as you can see right here, it's kind of a mixed bag, right? The lost leaders to the downside are Dollar General, Estee Lauder, and I'm not too sure why it's, oh, there you go. There you go. You got the unrealized P&L. Perfect. All right. So Dollar General, the worst. Rivian down a little bit too. Estee Lauder, Walgreens Boots, Pfizer, Nike, Stanley Black & Decker. Those are the only big losses in the portfolio for now. You can see my cost basis, right? For all these, the average prices which I bought them. Fairly good prices on all of them, but it's just some of them have dropped even more, like EL and DG especially, right? Now moving on to the upside, CCL, we're apparently up 62% on Carnival Cruise Line here. Helen of Troy doing well. Disney, PayPal, Win, LUV, Whirlpool, Intel. This one is AT&T as well. So a lot of decent upside too. So that's the revision of the, the portfolio right there. In terms of the dumpster dive portfolio, I told you guys I would only ever add to these if we got a 20-30% SPY correction. As of right now, we haven't got it. So I guess this is just going to be the one that I'll keep moving forward for the next year. And we'll see, how does it do? Is it a good proposition to be buying companies so undervalued versus the S&P, right? We're going to put to the test, is it a good buying opportunity or not? And lastly, we can go over the other portfolio. So taking a look at the other portfolio right now, this is the trades that I have right now. Now we did close a few of them from the Friday session to today. So if you watch the Friday's video, we closed a couple of them. The only couple ones of them that we closed today was Amazon. So Amazon, we got them at $1.15. We got the 192.5s. I showed them last night in my top 5 options play video, right? So we had the 192.5s from $1.15. We closed them at 30 cents. So we realized like 70%, 75% profit on these. Very decent trade. All I did was I took this capital, since it serves no purpose, guys. 19,000 capital exposure for $30. It makes no sense. There's no ROI there for the rest of the week. You would rather close this one and open one of lesser exposure, such as this one I took, the SMCIs, $31 strike. So you're literally running 5 times less exposure, or more, 6 times less exposure for the same premium. 37 cents, right? 30-cent close, and I get more premium here for less exposure. So it's just a way of being capital efficient with our trades. So that's one of them that we closed. I think that was the only closure for the day. Yeah, all the other ones are open. So let's go over the opens right now. I'm not going to be going through all of them. We went through a full portfolio rundown of all these positions on Friday. So if you want to see the ones that I'm not covering today, just go look at Friday's video towards the end and you should get a good idea. In terms of the ones that we opened today, BBY, Best Buy, and we have 2 earnings plays. One is Best Buy and one is Zoom. So we went with Zoom 71 puts. Same strategy as usual, guys. 2 times the expected move, looking for support ranges. Zoom, we got the 71s. Zoom right now is trading roughly flat in the after hours. So this should pretty much be 100% profit in our pocket by tomorrow. Best Buy, same thing. 2 times the expected move away. 79 puts for about 16 cents. We will be out of these, win or loss, by tomorrow morning. So you may think that it's not a lot of premium, but we're only in these for 1 day. So the ROI on a weekly basis is actually quite good. Now, we did write some BITXs as well on the pullback. BITX, $50 strike, which is roughly Bitcoin 87, 88,000 by Friday. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does happen, I'll just take the shares. I don't really care. The covered calls are super juicy on this one. And we got 1%, as you can see, 50 cents right there. Still maintaining everything else. We still have the Google 165 put for Friday. We're currently up nicely, about 50% on those. I'll hold those through Friday. I got these last week, so I'll just keep them. And if Google dips a little bit more, I may even add to the position. But I also have the leap call and the shorter duration call as well. As you can see, the leap is here. The shorter duration call is right there. We picked those up. The leap we picked out, a couple months back. But this 180 call, we picked it literally up last week at the depths of the DOJ announcement. Now, moving on further, other than that, we did write some NVIDIAs. We wrote the 134 puts for Friday. So we'll see if we get assigned on these. I really don't mind being assigned NVIDIA at 134. We'll see what happens. And we also want the longer duration put. I didn't get the best pricing on the day, but you can see I got some pretty good pricing when NVIDIA was down about 3.7, 3.8%. We went for these. These are 4 weeks out roughly, and we're getting about $4. So about $1 per week on average. And $1 per week is not too bad, guys. You're talking about $1 divided by your 132 roughly. It's about 0.75% per week. So that's above my 0.5% minimum per week. That's what I'm looking for. I was happy with that one, so I fired it off. Our break even would be NVIDIA 128, and that's where I'm looking to buy. Of course, if NVIDIA rallies, we're not going to have to wait till December 27th. We'll be able to close this one a lot earlier than anticipated. Moving on further, SMCI, I kind of hinted at it when I went over the Discord trades, of course, right? But SMCI, I'll continue playing this one, not even aggressively, right? 31 on SMCI for the week. And you guys saw how much premium I got for those, right? I'm not even getting too aggressive on these. 31, where's 31, guys? That would be giving back all of today's candle plus all of Friday's candle as well. 20% down from here by Friday. I mean, if they want to do it, they can do it. I'll just take the shares, no problem at all. I think the risk reward on SMCI now is becoming more favorable than not. And they've cleared up a lot of issues that I had with the company in the last few weeks of trading, which is what I was waiting for. And I've been very vocal about this on the channel because a lot of you were asking me, can we play SMCI here? Can we play SMCI here? And I was like, I'm not convinced. I want to see them get through the issues. Can we play SMCI here? I was like, no, I'm going to wait for earnings, going to wait for the new auditor, going to wait for the NASDAQ clearance. And now we have all those issues cleared up. And you can see the rally on the stock has been phenomenal. I still think there's a lot of meat on the bone. So if they want to come back and assign me, be my guest. I'll pick up the shares, no problem at all. And finally, SOXL. We wrote some new SOXLs after being assigned and then writing some covered calls and being assigned or being called away on the covered calls. We made a lot of money on the SOXL trades over the last week. I'll continue to wheel these as a matter of fact. So we wrote the SOXL $27 puts for the Friday session, 1%, and SOXL, I mean, that's a good margin of safety, right? I'm not opposed to playing the 3 times leverage ETFs, but when I do, I give myself a decent margin of safety. And from now until then, that would be a drop of roughly, let's call it 8%. So you'd have to see roughly, let's call it 2.5% drop on SMH by then. It can happen, right? If we keep dropping on semiconductors. I really don't care, guys. If you want to assign me down here at 27, I'll take assignment again and I'll write those juicy covered calls. So all in all, a little bit of light on the premium. I do have a lot of positions. It looks like a lot to manage, but it's really not. Most of these plays are longer duration plays. It's just the short wheel positions for the weekly that I should present to you guys. I still have a decent amount of buying power. So if any other deals free themselves up throughout the week, more Google, more Amazon, more Microsoft, wouldn't be opposed, and many other plays in the bonus plays as well. That's pretty much everything for the portfolio recaps, the trade recaps, the stock recaps, the bonus plays recap. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, consider dropping a like on the video. Would appreciate it for the growth of the channel. Also consider subscribing if you're new. We do these every Monday to Friday after the close, except for on Thursday. And now, because it's going to be a holiday. And then, of course, guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them down below in the comments. Last Friday's video, I talked about making a video on the psychology behind the market, right? All of these bullet points and why they're not working. I got very, very busy this weekend, so apologies I wasn't able to film on the Saturday or the Sunday a majority of the day. I got the top 5 options video out, but you guys noticed I went a little bit quicker than normal. Very, very busy weekend for me. I will put this video out on the Thursday session. So it'll be a holiday for everybody. So I'll put it out on the Thursday session. I'll have a lot more time to film that one. So I did not forget about it. Apologies for not putting it out. So that's it for that. And as usual, guys, in the event that you guys want to join the Discord and get access to all of these trades in real time, I always run through this, right? These are the weekly trade recaps from all the prior weeks, right? As you can see, most of the, especially the directional trades, the wheel trades, the directional trades, calls, call debit spreads, leap call options, they've all for the most part been doing very well. Obviously, past performance is not indicative of future results. And none of this is financial advice anyways, for education purposes, of course, right? So if you guys want to have access to any of these live trade alerts, whether it's for selling put options, longer dated selling puts, shares, call options, leap call options, anything you guys can possibly imagine, it's in here. Private morning live streams, 9:30 towards 10:30, 11 a.m., about an hour and a half every single morning. And if you guys have any questions that you want to ask me in real times for your stocks, your options, and anything in between, well, you have access to me all day, and I usually answer very, very quickly, plus many more things that I don't have time to talk about. If you guys are interested, guys, the link to the Discord is down below. Hopefully I see you in there soon if that interests you. And if not, well, I guess I'll see you back on the channel right here, and I'll see you tomorrow after the close. Take care. Peace.